Hello, Year 5. This is Miss Salma with a new English lesson. So yesterday we discussed poems, or the previous lesson we discussed a poem, a narrative poem, which we said they tell a story, however, in the form of a poem. And poems were used to be, or were meant to be, an oral art, not a written art. And we also said that one of the features of poems are imagery and figurative language. So in today's lesson, we'll focus on what's the meaning of figurative language and some figures of speech or some figurative languages that you can use to write a poem or to analyze a poem. So as we took before, we have figures of speech. We took simile, we took the simile, and we took the metaphor, and we also had an introduction about personification, and the new thing is the alliteration. So let's start with what we already know, simile and metaphor. Simile. Example of a simile is: the water is as smooth as glass. Here, if you notice, I used as. It's comparison of two things using like or as. Again, it's comparison of two things using like or as. It could be the water is like a smooth glass. So that is a simile. What is a metaphor? Example: the stormy ocean was a raging bull. The stormy ocean was a raging bull. Do you see the picture of the sea or the ocean here? It's all waves and the sea's going crazy. So we're describing it as a raging bull. Raging means angry, as we know before. So what's a metaphor? It describes an object or an action in a way that isn't literally true and exaggerated. Exaggerated means I'm giving it, like I'm representing it in a larger way that is not true, as we said. So of course, the ocean here is not a raging bull, but I'm describing it as it was to show how the waves were very huge and strong. All right. Here are some examples of similes and metaphors. So two of the most famous methods that work very well are similes and metaphors. We widely use them in writing either like fiction stories, we use them, adventure stories, we use them. As we mentioned before, as we took in class, that we use them to describe and make things clear. You'll be able to imagine how the story is actually going. So both of them are widely used by writers to create mental images. They create mental images for their readers and make their texts more lively and interesting. Instead of saying the stormy ocean, or there were a lot of waves in the ocean, I can simply say the stormy ocean was a raging bull. It made the sentence vivid, it creates mental image, and it's more interesting. The usage of the simile and the usage of a metaphor. First, the usage of a simile. When you use a simile, you say that something is like or as something else, as we mentioned before. We use like or as. Examples: he eats like a pig. So what's the common here between the boy and the pig? These are the two things we're comparing here. So he eats like a pig. The common feature between both is they eat a lot. They eat a lot. It's cold like in Antarctica here. So what are we comparing in the second sentence? We are comparing the weather, it, I refer to the weather by it, to Antarctica, a continent which is very cold. So the comparison here shows that both, or the common feature is both are cold, and it's mentioned. Her skin was as white as snow. So we're comparing the girl and the snow. The common feature is both are very white, or the girl's skin. She went on working in the pantry as quiet as a mouse. Here I'm comparing the girl to the mouse. The common feature is that both are quiet. She smelt like a rose too, the old woman thought. Here I'm comparing the girl to the rose, and the common feature between them are their smell. They both smell good. Joan sleeps like a baby all night. So here I'm comparing John to the baby and how they sleep. That's the common feature. All right, so we noticed that in a simile, we always have two sides or two things, a person and a thing maybe, or two things, two objects, an animal and an object. Any two sides, any two things that I compare. And there is usually a common feature like how he sleeps, the smell, quiet, cold, they eat a lot, but in the first sentence it wasn't mentioned, only the verb, but a lot wasn't mentioned. So white, and so on. That's in a simile. Let's take a look at the metaphor, the usage. When you paint a picture by saying that something is something else, you use a metaphor. I don't use like or as. In the metaphor, I just say that something is something else. This is a metaphor. So, for example, thanks for mailing me those letters. You are, this is R, shortened form, an angel. Thanks for mailing me those letters. You're an angel. So here I compared a person, you, to an angel. What's the common feature between them is that both are maybe kind. Same example, it's called like in Antarctica here, and it's Antarctica here. It refers to the weather, Antarctica to the continent, and I simply used is. And here I did not mention what's common, which is the word cold. Here I didn't mention. I only mentioned the two sides of the two things I'm comparing. Laughter is the music of the soul. Laughter is the music of the soul. So I compared the laughter to the music of the soul. Both, for example, what's the common feature of between laughter and music of the soul, or the music in general? Maybe they make you relaxed, calm, happy, and so on. The computer in the classroom was an old dinosaur. The computer in the classroom was an old dinosaur. Here, the computer and the old dinosaur are the two things I'm comparing here. Why do you think I used old dinosaur to describe computers? And I also said old. Maybe the computer in the classroom is no longer used. It's very old computer. Maybe they don't even exist anymore. Maybe the big screens and the big parts of the computer, big keyboard and old keyboard, so maybe they are, this type of computer in the classroom is extinct, like dinosaurs. The detective listened to her tales with a wooden face. The detective listened to her tales with a wooden face. So here I described how the face of the detective was by saying that it was wooden. Like we say, he gave me a poker face. Of course, you know that. So poker face is like not smiling, not angry, not anything, just same reaction, same facial expression, not changing. That's a wooden face, describing or comparing the face of the detective to wood. I think that new singer is a diamond in the rough. A diamond in the rough is an idiom or expression, and it means that when someone looks worse than they are. So the reality of that person is that he is really kind and a nice person, but they don't look very nice. That's the meaning of diamond in the rough. Again, they look worse than they really are. I think that the new singer is a diamond in the rough. So they're saying that he doesn't look so kind or he doesn't look so good of a singer, but he's like, he is really good, but this doesn't show. So that's simile and metaphor. And here is a hint. How do you exactly know what is in front of you, a simile or a metaphor? So when you see one, we know the main thing to identify a simile is using like, or as. So if there is an as or like in the sentence, then it's a simile. If it's just a comparison without any helping words, then you have a metaphor, like using maybe verb to be. All right, this is page 99 in the textbook. We have some exercises. Similes and metaphors compare words in order to make sentences more interesting. We said we use them usually in writing, either stories or poems. And to give a better descriptive language. They are often used in poetry. Similes compare two things by saying they are like, similar to each other, and metaphors compare two things by saying they are the same as each other. All right, here we said like each other, but in the metaphor we say that they are the same. So, which two things in each sentence below are being compared? Asa swims like a fish. I have the girl and the fish. These are the two things that are being compared. B, my two best friends are like two peas in a pod. Do you remember the meaning of pod? We said like in the origins of chocolate, the pod of the cacao plant, or maybe the plant of the peas. I'll try to draw it. That's the crust of the peas, and inside I'll have the peas. So the outer part, the peel, is called also pod, inside of which I have peas or beans. So my two best friends are like two peas in a pod, like Ziyad and Karim. Noor is as quick as lightning when he runs. So here I'm comparing Noor to lightning, and the point of comparison is both are quick. Next, I have metaphors. Which two things in each sentence below are being matched? Same thing, but with metaphors. My big brother is a couch potato. My big brother and the couch potato. Couch potato is an expression used to say that this person is very lazy. They never leave their couch. They're very lazy. They are so reluctant, they don't want to go anywhere. No, I'll just stay here, watch TV all day. Life is a roller coaster. So I have life and roller coaster. Why do I need to describe or compare the life to a roller coaster? Maybe because the roller coaster scares us. It has like when you're riding a roller coaster, you might have good feelings, then bad feelings, then scared, then happy, then excited, then cry. So it has ups and it has downs. So that's exactly the same with life. Louise is a night owl. Night owl are owls that don't sleep at night. They stay awake at night. So here I'm comparing Louise to a night owl, which means that Louise doesn't sleep at night like night owls. So in this question, it asked me to underline the two things I'm comparing. Same as before. Please answer page 99. Which are similes and which are metaphors? We have 8 sentences. His bedroom was a zoo. Here, do I have any like or as? No, I don't. I have verb to be. His bedroom was a zoo. So this is a metaphor. M refers to metaphor and S refers to simile. Again, M is a metaphor. S is for simile. Okay, number 2. This party is as much fun as going to the dentist. So, do you think it's exciting or interesting or boring? What do you think of going to the dentist? So, this party is as much fun as going to the dentist. Here I used as, so this is of course a simile. But do you think the party is fun or no? Of course it's not, because for me at least, because going to the dentist for most of us is not something that we really enjoy. The news was music to my ears. The news was music to my ears. What did I use here? Verb to be, so it's of course a metaphor. And this metaphor means that he really enjoyed the news as much as he enjoyed the music, or as much as he enjoys the music in general. The icing on the cake was as smooth as a mirror. Here I have the icing and the mirror compared. I have as, so it's of course a simile. Let me make the board more clean. Okay, so here we said metaphor, simile, metaphor, and simile. Number 5, time is money. Time is money. So this is of course a metaphor, and it shows, or it compares the time to the money because both are very valuable. Time is as valuable as money. She was a ray of sunshine. She was a ray of sunshine. I didn't use any as or like, so it's a metaphor. The holiday was a nightmare. The holiday was a nightmare. It wasn't good at all. I didn't enjoy my holiday. So this is also a metaphor. Number 8, my sister was as happy as a fish in water. So here I'm describing the sister to the fish in water. Both were happy. I used as, so it's a simile. Here in C, you will need to write a 6-line poem containing the following. In line number 1, contain a simile about the sky. I'll give you some examples. Line 2, a metaphor about clouds. Line number 3, a simile about the rain. Line number 4, a metaphor about the stream. Line 5, a simile about a lake. Line number 6, a metaphor about the sea. So you can imagine the weather. You can either choose that. The weather, it could be good or bad in your poem. Choose either. If it's good, so describe the sky or make the similes and metaphors in a good way, to describe them in a good way. If the weather is bad in your poem, then you will need to choose some bad qualifications or bad features to describe the nature with. Bad. some examples of the metaphors about the sky and question number C.